Let's talk about the Medicare BRIDGE Program. I'm Phil Dattilo. I'm an interventional cardiologist, and I also have a preventative clinic where we prescribe a lot of GLP medications, which to date have been fairly vigorously restricted in terms of having them be paid for by insurance companies. Medicare is about to initiate a program called the BRIDGE Program. It's a bridge to a different program called the Balance Act, or the Balance Program that should be starting in January of 2027. The BRIDGE program is going to go from July 1st, 2026 to end of January 2027, or end of December 2027. So it's an 18-month test program. The BRIDGE program is going to offer Medicare Part D enrollees, people who have a prescription drug program or Medicare Advantage, the ability to get GLP medications for $50 a month. Now, in addition to making them fairly cheap, they are going to expand the indications that get paid for, which is nice. It's going to make things much more consistent with clinical trial data and current FDA indications. So right now, generally speaking, to get prescription coverage for weight loss versions of these drugs, and there are diabetic versions that are currently paid for by Medicare, Ozempic and Mounjaro. Those aren't the issue. It's the versions for weight loss specifically. So that's Wegovy pill, Zepbound, and Vowst is the newest one, which is the new oral medication. So indications will broaden for these folks. So that's going to be people who have a BMI over 35, class 2 obesity, so-called. They don't necessarily have to have other conditions. It'll just be covered. It's for people with a BMI over 30, class 1 obesity. That will be for people who have a history of heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. We call that HFpEF. There's some pretty good clinical trial data about that one. It's also going to cover people with blood pressure issues. So if you have blood pressure over 140/90 on 2 occasions, despite having been treated with 2 antihypertensive medications, and that's going to be a criteria that gets covered, as well as chronic kidney disease that is defined as a GFR less than 60. And then for folks who are overweight with a BMI over 27, if you're curious what that looks like, you're looking at it. So a bit overweight compared to just the standard definition. And for those folks, if they've had a history of a heart attack, a history of a stroke, a history of symptomatic peripheral arterial disease, it's a little bit of a specific one. So when we talk about peripheral arterial disease, we have a very cardiac-centric view of the world, I guess. There are cardiac stents, there's cardiac surgery, and then there's peripheral, which is basically everything else. So that could be carotid disease, that could be femoral arterial disease. You can have symptomatic femoral disease, pain when you're walking. You can have symptomatic carotid disease, defined as a stroke or a TIA. But there's a lot of asymptomatic disease, and I don't know the way it's written anyway right now. It seems like that wouldn't be covered. So we'll see. Importantly, what's not covered, and which has both good clinical trial data and a FDA indication, is hepatic disease, fatty liver disease, called MASLD. I don't know if that's just an oversight. My guess is that will change, but right now that is not at least what's being described on the current website. So folks will be able to pay $50 out of pocket. The government is going to pay the manufacturers $250 a dose. The math is kind of interesting here. If you look at out-of-pocket prices right now, the Wegovy pill, the Wegovy pill, and the Vowst pill start at $149 a month. The most expensive GLP right now is Zepbound. The high doses are $450 a month. I think, well, I'm certain most people are on smaller doses, and so the manufacturers, for most doses, are probably going to be making more money than they are right now, but of course would be taking a hit on those higher doses. But regardless, I think probably overall the cost would be somewhat significant to Medicare, but if you think about the cost, $250 a month for 12 months is $3,000 per person. These drugs definitely save big problems. Significantly reduce the risk of heart attack, significantly reduce the risk of a heart failure admission. So there are, real potential cost savings there when we look at it purely from a financial perspective. And then, of course, there's the human cost of not having to go through that. So overall, I'd say that's a pretty sound deal. Once the Balance Act comes through, the Balance program, there may be further price negotiations with that, but I just don't really know the status of that at this time. So that's what we know today. It's early May of 2026. As things get updated, if new information comes out, I'll try and update this video. But I've been Phil Dattilo, and let's talk again soon.